When you hear the word resilience, how do you define it?
The ability to bounce back, to not give up, to keep going in the face of adversity.
Next up, Saunteel Jenkins.
Saunteel Jenkins has spent her adult life serving Detroit.
Former Detroit City Councilwoman Saunteel Jenkins made it official today. She's running for mayor.
It's a toughness that defines what it means to be a Detroiter.
I'd say 9 out of 10 times, whoever's asking the question, you haven't been through what I've been through.
Right.
You have not survived the things that I have survived. It was probably 2 or 3 months before I even remembered because it was so traumatic that I had blocked it out. And I never really talked about that.
What is the self-talk? What does that sound like for you?
Yeah. In the dark moments during my treatment, there were a few things. One of the first thoughts that I had was, my mother can't bury another child. The only way to get through it is to go through it. And that's how you really know God's grace, is by the fire He gets you through.
How does that kind of loss shape your relationship with resilience?
It's perspective. Perspective, I believe, gives you resilience.
That's how you turn pain into purpose. It's a journey worth traveling, your space for raw conversations and soulful insights around life's journey. Let's explore. This episode is in partnership with the 12th Congressional District Democrats and sponsored by the Detroit Medical Center. Hey crew, and welcome back to the pod. I am Catherine, tour guiding you through these episodes. It is nothing short of soul work. And this trip on today, let me just tell you, there has been so much soul poured into it. So get ready to lace up and run the race of resilience. Tour guiding us this episode, we have Saunteel Jenkins. She's a former Detroit City Council president, a policy powerhouse. She was the CEO of THAW, the Heat and Warmth Fund, where she helped thousands of families across Michigan keep their heat and their lights on. And now she is running for mayor of Detroit. But beyond all the titles and the accolades, here's what you have to know about Saunteel. She is a survivor through and through. She's weathered deep personal loss, domestic violence, she's overcome cancer, and she's come out of all of that thriving. And on today, she is guiding us through what it means to heal, to hope, and to keep moving forward no matter how heavy the load. So crew, grab your water bottles and get ready to tap into that inner strength. Let's go hit this track and run the race of resilience with Saunteel Jenkins.
I'm so excited about this trip. Me too.
So now we've done an overview of some of the profound things that you have endured and that you have achieved. But I want to know, who is Saunteel Jenkins, who continues to show up to run her race?
Yeah, Saunteel Jenkins is I am a Detroiter, a lover of people and my city, a lover of service and giving back. I am someone who has always said everything that I've been blessed with in my life, I want to give it back to this city that has given me so much. I'm the daughter of a mailman and a sales associate from Hudson's / Marshall Fields / Macy's.
I love that. Now, when you hear the word resilience, how do you define it?
The ability to bounce back, to not give up, to keep going in the face of adversity, whatever, that adversity is, the ability to keep looking for the light at the end of the tunnel and use it as your guide to travel through the darkness, whatever that darkness is in that moment. If you stay focused on the light, it makes it easier, right? It gives you sort of a guide, right? It's your guiding star, if you will. So that's how I define resilience.
Resilience is the way that you respond to something.
That's right.
But before you respond, there's something deeper there that drives that response, whether it's a mindset, whether it's a belief. So for you, what is that thing that gets you to rise instead of retreat?
Wow, that's a great question. My desire to do better, to be better. Even when I wasn't quite sure I could, I knew I wanted to. And then each obstacle I faced in my life, every time you face an obstacle and you find a way to get over it, right, you get stronger and more resilient and more confident in your ability to get over whatever the next obstacle is that comes your way. It's a deep faith that behind whatever this is, there is a brighter day. I believe there's always a purpose, right? Yeah. That there is always a greater purpose for any difficulty I've faced in my life. And finding that purpose has got me through it.
What was your childhood like growing up in Detroit?
My childhood was full of love. It was wonderful. I grew up, the first house I grew up in was on Apple Line, which was near like McKenzie High School. And me, my mother, my sister, my brother, my aunt, and her 3 kids stayed in a 3-bedroom house with 1 bathroom. And then my grandmother would come up in the summer times from Mississippi, and other relatives would stay with us on and off. We had no idea that we were poor. We were just loved. And our house was the Kool-Aid house. Everybody came over. We would spend summer in the backyard, making up routines. And we would, put hot dogs on the grill, and the whole neighborhood would come over. And then we moved into our first home. My dad, after he got his job as a mailman, I guess a couple years later, we moved into our first home near Cody High School, which was 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. And we were like, yes, we're struck it rich, right? We're moving on up, exactly.
So let's talk about some of those first obstacles that kind of tested or built the resilience that you have now.
Wow. I was a kid who, growing up, thought, this sounds crazy, but it's true. As soon as I turn 12, I'm moving out, right? All right, 12 might be too young. 14, I'm out of here. 16, for real, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I graduated from high school at 17. And
so you were smart.
No, I just started school at 4.
Okay. You're going to give me the smart thing. Yeah.
I was okay.
You are. Yeah.
I am smart. I don't think I knew I was smart.
Okay.
Though as a teenager, I was a very insecure, very shy kid who wasn't real sure of my abilities, to be honest. And in elementary and junior high school, I always got good grades. When I went to CAS, it was the first time I had to study to get good grades. And I was just okay at CAS. In hindsight, I think it was that I was afraid to try and then realize I actually wasn't that smart, right? So I would just say, a C is fine. I just did well enough to not get kicked out, literally. And then at Wayne State, I realized, you're actually smart, right? It's funny when you start paying for something, it has a different meaning and value. So I was like, I'm getting an A in every class, right? Yes. But I got my first apartment with a girlfriend that I graduated with. We had a 1-bedroom apartment with twin beds and all donated furniture. Like my aunt gave us a table. Her mother gave us a couch. My mother gave us pots and pans. I was making $5 an hour, paying rent. I had a car note, insurance, all the bills that go along with being an adult. And it was like, this is real, right? This is like all of a sudden, I am an adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
And adulting is not easy.
No,
so
it's
that
not.
was just life instantly became like a struggle that was my struggle
Yeah.
that I had to figure out how to navigate.
Yeah. Was that the first time on the journey where it was like, I need this thing called resilience?
Yes, that was the first time on my adult journey, right? As a kid, there were things that happened. You know, my parents would hit a bump in the road, a financial bump, right? So our lights were cut off, you know, our gas had been cut off, our water. I lived through those things as a kid. I lived through loss in our family. You know, I lost my favorite cousin at the time to a car accident when I was in high school. So there were a lot of different things that my family faced living in Detroit, right? And as a very young adult, 17, 18, being on my own, family adversity became my adversity that I had to figure out how to navigate. And I was determined to be an adult and figure it out on my own. You know, I moved out, I ain't never going back, right? I'm not gonna. So even when I struggled, I wouldn't call my mom and say, Mom, I'm struggling. I decided to be an adult. I need to figure it out.
Why do you think we do that? Because I barely called my parents either when I was in college. It was like, I'll figure it out. But I do feel like support is so essential in helping us to fuel our race. But oftentimes that's not the thing that we necessarily lean towards.
Yeah. Because I don't think we understand it, right? As you go through it, you begin to understand more how important that support is. And I don't think people talk about it enough, right?
Yeah.
So when I watched my mother and my father struggle, they didn't talk about it in front of us. And in their minds, they're protecting us, right? But I see that the lights aren't on, right? I know that we turned on the kerosene heater to stay warm. So you're not protecting me by not talking about it, right? Or by not talking about what you need to do to get the kind of support or help that's needed. So we don't learn it if the people around us, you know, you're being strong for the kids.
Yeah.
And then as kids, we think the way to be strong is to tough it out, figure it out, don't talk about it.
And those seeds are planted so early.
Yes. Yes.
You talked about loss. You also lost your brother.
My brother was 14. I was 19.
Okay.
He had just left a church basketball game. A church in our neighborhood, St. Suzanne, had a basketball team, and he would go up and play with his two best friends. And the church sat between Westwood and Granville. Westwood we lived on, Granville they lived on. And they were leaving their house. They stopped by their house and they were coming to ours. And some guys thought his jacket was something that they wanted and needed. And they shot him, killed him, one bullet, straight through his heart, out his back. I had gone to my mom's after work that day, which I did very often. I was working at Focus Hope, so I would go to her house and eat often. When I got there, it was just my father there, and my father and I have always had a strained relationship. But I came in, saw that my sister and brother weren't there. My sister's 3 years younger than me. My brother was 3 years younger than her. She, at the time, was a junior in high school. My brother was a freshman in high school, Cody High School. And I started fixing food because I was like, oh, they'll be here in a minute. My mom was at work. Phone rang. There's a frantic voice saying, they shot him. They shot him. They shot Jovan. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And it was Miss Sawyer. I can still hear her voice. I hung up the phone, told my father. But the entire time, Catherine, I'm thinking, my poor brother, his arm, his leg, he must be hurt. We lived 2 houses from the corner. He was shot 2 houses from the corner on the street directly behind us. So I throw on my boots and coat, run around the block, and I see him. He's laying on the ground. Blood is running down his mouth, and his eyes are open. So I knew instantly, like as soon as I saw him, I knew he was dead. And my father was shortly behind me on my heels. I can still actually see it like it was yesterday. It never crossed my mind that my brother was dead. Like literally, I ran there thinking my brother's in pain. I need to go there and be with him. But he wasn't in pain anymore. The silver lining that I can see now, obviously at that moment, I certainly didn't see it or understand it. But I also understand, like, God works in ways that we don't get. I show up to my mother's house. Nobody's there but me and my father. And I believe in my heart of hearts, we're the only 2 in my family who could have seen that and gotten past it. My sister wouldn't have been able to do that. My mother wouldn't have been able to do that. I don't even know if I'm past it. But I got through it.
Yeah. And that's what I want to know. Like, you're 19 years old and you've just experienced that. How are you navigating it? How did you get through that?
Honestly, I don't know. Like today, I can't tell you what I did in those moments to get through it. I can tell you that my family, we clung to each other closely. I can tell you, and I talk about it often because it stays with me. When I decided in my anger phase that I was quitting school, and I told my mother told me I couldn't quit school. She told me that my brother was loved, that I should never forget how loved he was. And even at 14, my brother was the kid who would hug and kiss his big sister every time he saw me. It didn't matter if his friends were around. He wasn't worried about the cool aspect. He was like, I love my sister. I love my mother, right? But she said he was loved every day, didn't have everything he wanted, but he always had love. And the kids that thought his jacket was worth more than his life were the reason I had to finish school. Because if they had been nurtured, if there had been interventions for them, my brother and kids like him would be safe. So that was a driving force for me, that even in her own grief, as she was burying her 14-year-old child, my mother could find grace, compassion, and forgiveness for the people who took his life.
How does that kind of loss shape your relationship with resilience?
You know, it's perspective. Perspective, I believe, gives you resilience. There are so many just difficulties that we will all face in life just because, you know, life be lifing, right?
For sure.
and if you understand, if you have perspective, then everything gets the attention and the value that it deserves, right?
Being able to have that understanding, and so that you can put one foot in front of the other and keep going.
And keep moving, yes.
Now,
And knowing that tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to keep going. And the moments that you waste on little things are moments you didn't get to spend on the important things.
That's so true. Yeah. And you have something that anchors you. You have a situation that constantly anchors you to remind you of the fact that you're here and the time that you have and how you need to be investing in that time.
And you do always revert back to what's important.
And what's
right?
important.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mother, my sister, to this day, if I can see them 5 times today, I'll hug and kiss them 5 times.
And I think that's how you turn pain into purpose.
Yes.
Is through perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Now, with that being said, a lot of people, even if they are turning pain into purpose, they may have some resentment to the city in which this tragedy happened.
Yeah.
And they be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to exit stage left. You know, we go do our work somewhere else.
Yes.
But not you. You decided I'm going to double down and I am going to serve the city of Detroit.
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
Because we deserve it. Because Detroiters deserve the best. Because my brother deserved the best. And if I'm here fighting for the 14-year-old who today lives on Westwood, he can reach his full potential and see things my brother never got to see, right? And that makes it more important not to give up, or to just, roll up, my bag, take my marbles and go somewhere else. I don't want to do that. It could have happened in any city, right? The fact that it happened here means that there's work to be done, and that means I need to roll up my sleeves and do the work, because if not me, then who? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not me?
Yeah. I love that. Perspective.
That's right. Perspective. It's all about perspective.
No,
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So as a woman, sometimes for us, strength can be labeled as too much, while vulnerability can be mistaken as a weakness. So for you, how do you manage that duality?
Yeah. And I think that's so much more an issue for women than men, right? But there is strength in vulnerability.
Yes.
There is strength in honesty, right? And being vulnerable is honest. I am often asked, especially running for mayor, the number of times I've heard somebody say, "Are you tough enough?" Or they're saying to others, "She seems like she's too nice."
And what you saying back?
I am nice, but guess what?
Yeah.
I can do tough things.
Yeah.
And almost, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, whoever's asking the question, you haven't been through what I've been through.
Right.
You have not survived the things that I have survived.
Yes.
I'm tougher than most of the people who are asking the question. But the fact that I'm soft-spoken, that I'm kind, has nothing to do with how tough you are or are not.
Yeah.
It's easier to be mean and angry and
part.
evil.
Tell him.
Right?
Talk to him.
It's so much easier to address life and people that way, because it doesn't require effort. It requires effort to face adversity and still find compassion. It requires effort to be tough on yourself, on others, to expect results and outcomes and still do it with kindness. That's not an easy thing to do. So I'm nice, but guess what? I've done a lot of tough things, and I'll continue to do tough things because life requires it.
That is so true. It is so easy, to your point, to go through trauma, go through tragedy, and all the times that life is over here lifing, and project that on other people. But it's something else. It's a lot harder to heal through that, and now to transition that into compassion, empathy, understanding, and a greater perspective to life and purpose. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. So you talked about being a survivor, and that you are. 2020, you get a call from your doctor,
Yes.
and he tells you have cancer.
Yes.
When those words hit your ear, how are you processing that news?
It was she. My doctor was a she. At the time, and this is, again, retrospect, I think I was in shock. I was actually on a work call interviewing people for the COO role at Thaw. I had 2 Zoom interviews because it was during COVID, so we were doing everything in the box. And I turned my camera off, took this call, and it was the doctor I'd had since I was 18 years old.
Wow.
Yes, Dr. Gayla Zoglin. And Dr. Zoglin said, yeah, your results came back and it's cancer. So I talked to her for about 5 minutes. I hung up, turned my camera back on, and finished not only 1 interview, 2 interviews. That was just shock. Just the fact that I could get through the interviews, I know I was in shock. But after that, I immediately went into fix-it mode because that's a coping mechanism for me too. What do I need to do to fix
Solution,
this?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I got on the phone and started trying to call people I know. My husband is upstairs. I didn't even stop to go and say, baby, I just got this call, because I wanted to have an answer by the time I went to talk to him. And when I called this person, they picked up the phone,
woman, Lord.
right?
Yeah.
I broke down. When I tried to say it out loud, that's when I broke down. And fortunately, they had a bad connection, and it was somebody in healthcare. That was the first person I called, somebody I knew in healthcare, because I wanted answers. They had a bad connection. We got disconnected. And then it was, Saunteel, snap out of it. And I walked upstairs and told my husband, baby, the doctor called and it's cancer. We consoled each other and then together talked through, okay, who do we need to call? What do we need to do? And that was the beginning of the journey.
That's so interesting, because what you just shared is your initial, and you are resilient, right? But then how that support showed up in that moment.
Yes.
Like, resilience isn't the absence of support.
That's right. That's right.
It's the thing that helps to drive you and to fuel you
Yes.
even further when you don't have it, or
That's
when
right.
you need to go ahead and lay it down and let somebody else have it for you.
That's right. It's not even dropping the ball when you don't have the strength to carry the ball, pick it up in the first place. Having somebody, that kind of support there, who can say, that's okay.
Yeah.
I got this. You don't need to carry it today because I'll carry it for you, right?
Yeah.
Or resilience is, unfortunately, there are so many people who don't have. I'm so blessed that I had my life partner, my best friend, my husband there. But when I went to chemo, there were countless numbers of people who were there by themselves, who didn't have that support system. So resilience is sometimes saying, you know what, I dropped the ball. It'll lay on the floor today, and I'll pick it up tomorrow, right? And that's okay too, right? Just it's not the absence of weakness. It's not the absence of fear.
Yeah.
It is the ability and the will to continue to move in spite of weakness or fear. That's what resilience is really about.
Yes, absolutely. What has resilience taught you about yourself?
That I can get through anything, right? It's that no matter how hard it gets, I am strong enough to get through it.
Yeah.
1, 2, that it is easier for me when I can find purpose in my pain. When I got my diagnosis, knowing that I was almost 3 years behind on my mammogram, one of the things I said to myself is, how do I help other women learn from this, because then my pain isn't in vain.
Yes.
If I can get one woman to make her mammogram appointment on time, this wasn't for nothing. So it was telling my story. It's so important. It is so important, Catherine, that we tell our stories. I often talk about my breast cancer. I talk about my brother. I talk about domestic violence, because it's important for people who are going through it to see somebody who's been through it and the fact that they made it through it, right? Sometimes that's all you need to get through another day, another moment is, oh, okay, she got through it.
Yep.
Oh, okay, I can do it too.
I could not agree with you more. This whole podcast is predicated upon turning pain into purpose and literally starting a podcast.
Yes.
In 2020, I had hit some of the lowest spaces of my life, and I decided that I was going to leave the United States of America, went on a 5-month sabbatical, my own adult eat, pray, love that turned into my LCA, my life-changing adventure.
Wow.
And then I came back. But the things that really got me through those times were story, support, fuel, and then traveling.
Yes.
And so then and I've always, since high school, I've been a lover of the power of stories.
Yes.
Since the first ones that I heard that really got me to get my act together, and then throughout. But there is so much profundity, to your point, in stories, and being able to have those as reminders to act as those staffs that we need when we're in our darkest moments. And it was like, you know what? Saunteel, she got through it. I know I can. She healed through it. She's better because of it.
That's right.
And so you hold on to those stories.
Yes.
And so you turning your pain into purpose, like you said, it's not just for you,
Right.
and it's not in any kind of vein, because there's so many people that are the benefactors of you changing your perspective, you making sure that you turn that pain into purpose.
Yes.
So I wholeheartedly agree with you on that perspective.
Well, thank you for turning your pain into purpose and creating this venue for others to share and take this journey with you and with everyone that you bring here with you. Yeah. I think that's amazing.
But I think to your point, it's just you have no idea what the ripple effect is going to be. And so that's the important thing about just putting one foot in front of the other, and to have that resiliency to keep going, because you have absolutely no idea what's on the other side of it. And so the only way to know is by doing. And so you showed up every single day, and you kept going. You didn't know what was on the other side of your diagnosis, but you figured it out, and you applied that resiliency, that perspective, that positive perspective. And here we are, taking a trip. We're still running. We're running the race.
We're running this race, and we're running this race strong, healthy, and cancer free. Right? Yes, we are running it.
Yes. What I want to know, though, from you, in those dark moments, what is the self-talk? What does that sound like for you?
In the dark moments during my treatment, there were a few things, right? One of the first thoughts that I had was, my mother can't bury another child. It's not natural for parents to bury their kids. And that was a constant thought in my mind. My mother can't bury another child. Another thought for me, it was I spent my 10th anniversary in chemo. But it was, our time isn't done. We need more time. Me and my Bentley, my husband's last name is Bentley. Right? I need more time with my Bentley, right?
I love that.
It was, my work isn't done. So the times where I felt at my weakest, my lowest, it was thinking about what was ahead that helped push me through it. It was thinking about the thing and the blessings. I remember when my sister found out, and she came over, and she was so angry. And when I first got the diagnosis, it was still warm because it was August, so we could sit outside. So they could come. They couldn't touch me, couldn't hug me, but we sat outside in our backyard. And I remember my sister crying, and she was like, but why you? Why do these things always happen to you? Right? Because I've had so many adversities that we haven't even talked about. And I said, why not me? It's got to happen to somebody. Why not happen to me? Right? I have you all here. You love me. I have good insurance, right? I can go to the doctor. If it's got to happen to somebody, why not somebody who has the resources? Why not me?
That perspective is so healing in itself, because so often why me? But you flipped it on its head and you said, why not me? I got this. Right. God's got me. I got this. Amen. Bentley got me.
That's right. That's
Y'all
right.
got me.
That's right.
I'm good.
I'm good. That's
oh my
right.
Gosh, that is such an incredible perspective to have.
It's real. And at the time, I was on the board for Henry Ford Hospital main campus. Mm-hmm. I remember sitting through board meetings as they were talking about the building of this new cancer center and all of this great technology and how amazing it was to me. I had no idea that God was putting me in this place because I was going to need this technology and this treatment, right? One of the first donors at Thaw that I ever met with was the head of oncology at U of M. He was one of the people I called to say, I got this diagnosis. What should I be asking? Wow. God has blessed me in so many ways. Like this, yes, this is awful, but he's already given me the tools. Yeah. And I didn't even know it.
When you step back and you see that, like you see how he been working everything out for your good and just putting all these people in position and you have no idea, like, how does that make you feel?
Grateful. Yeah. Grateful. It makes me feel grateful. It was, cancer is freaking awful, right? I don't wish it on anybody. And certainly, yes, I could have gone through life without it and I would have been good, right? But I'm grateful that even in my darkest moments, there's always been light. Mm-hmm. And I've always been able to find it, what that light was. That's how it's made me feel grateful and more determined than ever to continue to give back, to make sure that I am living a purpose-driven life.
Yeah, I love that. So what do you think is one of the things that is hindering us or hindering people from being resilient, from tapping into that resiliency?
I think it's different for so many people, right? Mm-hmm. And I try really hard not to sit in judgment and give folks grace because we don't know the struggle of others. Yeah. I know that for me, for better or worse, no matter what happened in my life, I knew I was loved, right? My mother is the mother who would be like, not my baby. My baby is so, I love you no matter what. You could be like, she's really proud of me. But if I robbed a bank, my mother would be like, well, she only took $20.
That's my mama too.
It was just my baby. She ain't hurt nobody.
And she gonna be the first one to visit.
Right, exactly.
That's my mama too.
Exactly. So having a mother like that, right? It's the unconditional love. That's part of it. Just going through and getting through things gets you through things, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I learned it at an early age because I was crazy enough to think that I could be grown, right after graduating high school. And there were so many bumps and difficult things that, I ended up in a horrible, abusive relationship because I was so determined to be independent and on my own, and I wouldn't go back home. Mm-hmm. And I made a bad choice and a mate. the result was, at 19, I was locked in a room with a gun to my head. Jeez. God got me through it. He got me out of there. He got me out of that relationship. Thank God. And I never looked back. But I know that there are women out there right now who haven't found that strength.
Yeah.
I think it's why it's important that we tell our stories.
Yes.
So that people know.
Yeah. So for you, being in a relationship like that and coming out of it, how did you make that shift?
I always knew that I wanted something better. I didn't know what that was. I remember so vividly. And it was the day that I was breaking up with him, which is generally the most dangerous time for a woman. I can remember going from conversation to the room spinning. But it wasn't the room, it was me, because he was literally tossing me around like a rag doll, knocking me into the walls and into the mirror. And I can remember just saying, I'm too young to die. I'm too young to die. By the way, this was the November before my brother died. But I remember in my head, I'm too young to die. Lord, just get me out of this. If you get me out of this, And he did, right? He slammed me into a mirror. It cut me. And the blood made him snap out of it. When he saw blood, like so many abusers, he stopped and said, oh my God, you're hurt. Look what you made me do. I'm so sorry. I love you. But fortunately, what he did was say, I'm going to leave and give you some time to calm down. And then when I come back, we're going to talk this through. But when he left, I left the house walking and walked until I found a payphone and found my girlfriend to come pick me up. And I never looked back. That February, the same man was on Michigan's most wanted list for murder. What? It was probably 2 or 3 months before I even remembered where he had put the gun to my head.
Wow.
Because it was so traumatic that I had blocked it out. And I never really talked about that or saw myself as a domestic violence survivor until I was actually elected to city council because I had a violence prevention task force based on my brother's death. And I remember we would always have these sort of powwows with the kids. And a young woman said to me, you don't understand, right? Because you haven't been through what I've been through. And she was coming out of an abusive home, and she was in a relationship with a boy who had been abusive to her. And it was the first time that I said out loud,
little do you know.
Yeah, I understand. And let me tell you what I understand. But what I got out of that, it was tough because it was the first time I had talked about it publicly. I don't talk about this a lot still, and it's hard.
I understand.
But it is so important because, again, people see young girls, women, they're struggling. They see you, they see me, and they assume life must have been easy. Like, people like me don't get to be people like them. And it's important to talk about the things that we've been through, especially the hard parts, so that people know your past does not have to determine your future.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they need those stories to cling through when they're in it, when they're going through the whatever the it is. So maybe the resilience, part of the resilience is having stories to cling to. Helps give others resilience because they know what's possible.
Because they know what's possible. Exactly. Because to your point, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. And
Thank you.
But I'm grateful, and I know others will be grateful that you shared that story, because like you said, people are out here suffering,
Yes.
and you know what it's like.
Yes.
And so you can speak directly to them and let them know there's something on the other side of it.
That's right.
There's something on the other side of it. I am proof of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can get through it.
And you can get through it.
There is strength in you that you don't even know is there. Right? Just tap into it.
So for that person who may be dealing with cancer, in a domestic violence situation, may have lost someone recently, what would you tell them if they're in the midst of giving up?
Don't give up. The only way to get through it is to go through it. And that's how you really know God's grace, is by the fire he gets you through. There's no promise that you won't go through it. The promise is that you'll get through it. That's the only way to get through the storm, is to keep going until it's over.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you won't want to give up. Doesn't mean you won't have moments of weakness, moments of doubt. So it's okay. But just keep going. Just keep going. And what you'll find is that you're stronger. With each step, you get a little stronger and a little stronger. And before you know it, you've gotten through it. Yes.
That resiliency, that resistancy is definitely, it builds up the strength. It's building up the strength.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you build muscle.
And you build muscle.
You build muscle.
And then all of a sudden you look up and you're a whole bodybuilder. Because you're a whole bodybuilder. You're a whole bodybuilder.
Yes. We all have it in us, though.
We do.
We all have it in us.
Yeah. But it's fighters like you that remind us. It's stories like yours that remind us that I have it in me too. I'm going through this. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. She healed through it. She's on the other side of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And we can all heal through it, right?
Yeah.
And there is no certain type. We are all the type, right? It can happen to anybody.
Yeah. All these things.
Yes.
All these things.
Yes.
I knew I should have. I was gonna get a box of tissue because when I was talking to you, I was talking to you on my pre-interview call, and I was tearing up, and I said, "Girl, you need to bring a box of tissue up in here."
That's so funny.
Saunteel, you already know you're gonna probably be
I'm like, you trying to make me cry here, right?
I just knew it was going. I mean, I've definitely teared up multiple times, but I was like, you gonna need it. And then I was like, I just knew it. J. Crew, if you are enjoying this trip and you have not already, I would love for you to like and subscribe so that you never miss a trip and we can continue to grow our community. Now, back to this trip. Thank you for your bravery and just in life. We all are a benefactor of your bravery. Thank you for that.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Yeah. No, thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
You are a survivor of cancer, loss, domestic violence, and all of the other things that have come with life.
That's right. Yes.
So how do you support your mental wellness and all of that?
I'm better at it now, post-cancer, right? I've had to be self-care is so much more present and at the forefront than it was before. Before, I thought I supported my mental health and mental balance by service, giving back, taking care of others. Got to make sure, I'm loving on everybody, which I still do. But now I make sure that I take a little time for myself. I make sure that I make my doctor's appointments, right? That I'm not putting off those things that ensure my health, right? I'm still not as good at it as I should be, but, working out or taking a walk, me and my husband, right? Or just an hour, a moment. You know, my husband and I will do our together time that we started during COVID was like, you want to just stream, right? We got time for an episode.
I love that.
Or do you feel up to an
Y'all
episode? So we'll just do
Netflix and chilling.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So it might just be 1 hour,
Yeah.
right? For the entire weekend, we might only find 1 hour that we can share, and then we'll do that. I'm eating better. I'm trying to learn to meditate. I'm not good at it yet, but
it's a practice. But I will share this because everybody thinks that they have to be good at meditating.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point of meditating, right? Meditating is having your mind going everywhere and then bringing it back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like if your mind was clear the whole time, you wouldn't necessarily be meditating,
right,
you know?
Right,
so
yeah.
as the person who does meditate, and I have friends that are like, I wish I could, meditate longer and better. And it's like, first of all, you meet yourself where you're at. But then also, again, that's the whole point of meditation. That is meditation.
Yeah. So
Is being distracted and coming back and being distracted and coming back. So I'm sure you are great at it.
Well, thank you for your vote of confidence. I got a little work. It is definitely the being distracted and coming back. I just need the coming back part to last a little longer. Right?
I feel that.
So I'll keep working on it.
I'm working on mine too. So
right?
yeah. So that's the perfect segue into after surviving cancer and just all the things that you've endured. You could be out here on a beach somewhere, sipping some pina coladas, listening to the waves crashing. But nope, you said that. I heard somewhere that you said that cancer is your second chance to serve.
Yes. Yeah.
And now you've decided to serve as mayor instead of being on the beach.
Yes.
Why?
Because I don't believe that God saved me for more beach time. I believe that the fact that God gave me the second chance, I have to do something with it. I got to put it to work. And I have to make sure that I'm providing second chances and third chances for others that may not be able to, for whatever reason, do it alone, right? Don't get me wrong. I love a little beach time. I like a margarita. But that can only last so long, right?
Facts.
I worked for an education company that was providing tutoring around the country for underperforming schools.
Okay.
We opened an office in Detroit at one of the most tumultuous times in DPS history. We had like 4 superintendents in 3 years. We were here for 3 years and still waiting for payment for the first year. And they said, we're closing our Detroit office.
Wow.
You are amazing. We want you to keep working with us, but you got to move to New York. I didn't do it because I never wanted to leave Detroit. But in between, I launched a small business, Petite Sweets, because everybody deserves a little something sweet.
Oh, I like that.
It was baking.
I like that.
Right? So it was cakes, cookies, pies, brownies, but they were all individual sized. And I was quickly growing my business much faster than I thought I would, to the point where I had to decide either you're going to go all in and make a full investment or not. What I realized, I love baking for people I love. Doing it every day did not bring me joy because I didn't see the purpose in it. Right? If I could have gone from like one cookie to being Mrs. Fields and then give out millions, I would have been able to see the purpose. But spending every day baking, as happy as a brownie will make you while you're eating it, I got no joy from it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see it as service. So it's just part of my DNA.
Yeah.
Wanting to give back, wanting to serve. So I'll go hang out on the beach. I'll have a brownie. I'll even bake a brownie. And by the way, I am a really good baker. But at the end of the day, whatever I'm doing in life has to be in service to others.
I really love that. So, will you be a resilient mayor?
Absolutely, I will be a resilient mayor.
and what does that look like for you?
It means doing the hard work. It means getting in there and working alongside the folks who are making it happen every day to figure out how to make it happen better. It means staying connected with folks on the ground who live in the city, who understand the problems of this city better than I do, and hearing from them, letting them be a part of how this city moves forward next. It means building coalitions and hearing from people who don't like me, as well as people who do like me, right? Because that's how you get better. And from people who disagree, that's how you get better. It means that I'm going to have to work with folks whose philosophies on life and on politics are not the same as mine, because they can bring something to this city. So that's what it looks like. And it looks like honesty and integrity and strength and resilience. It looks like grit that we all love to say. It looks like Detroit.
Yeah, because we do. We got a lot of grit here.
Right?
We
Yeah.
do. We have a lot of resiliency here.
Yes.
Absolutely. When you think about the Detroit that you are fighting for, the Detroit that you are dreaming of, what is the vision for the city and its people?
The Detroit that I'm fighting for and that I am dreaming of is a Detroit where 12-year-old little girls like me know that they can grow up to be anything they want to be. It is a Detroit where 14-year-old little boys like my brother get to live out their dreams, because they get to live out their entire lives in a place that is healthy, that is safe for everybody, in a Detroit where we're investing in Detroiters from cradle to career and beyond. That is my dream Detroit. No matter whether you're on Dexter and dreaming to be a doctor, or on West Chicago and dreaming to be a pilot, whatever it is, you can achieve your dreams, because as a community, we're all vested in your future.
Yes.
That's my dream for Detroit. It's a Detroit where seniors who lived out their lives and given back can live out their golden years with dignity, right? Because we're caring for our community and the people who've cared for us. That's my dream city.
That's a beautiful vision. That's a beautiful Detroit.
Yes.
So why is Saunteel Jenkins' journey worth traveling?
My journey has been a journey worth traveling, because for every challenge that it has included, the blessings have been tenfold. My journey is a journey worth traveling, because I've traveled with people who I love dearly and people who have loved on me dearly. It's worth traveling because the lessons have been invaluable for me and hopefully for others. I hope that others have been able to learn from my journey, and that my journey has served to help make life even just a little bit better for others. That all makes it a journey worth traveling.
Yes. And we have. Thank you again for your bravery, your resiliency, your strength, surviving it all and turning that pain into purpose, your perspective. I knew you were going to be a great tour guide. Thank you so much for tour guiding us as we ran this race, and you're running this race of resilience.
Oh, what a great journey
Yes.
with you
Oh, my
today.
goodness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
Yeah, this was so cathartic. This was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Y'all give her some claps. Where are claps at? Thank you.
That was fun.
That was great.